Julie Spira is America's top online dating expert and digital matchmaker.
I've been told that I look very eager in the
I'm
profile.
looking at a crotch shot.
I know, no, I'm sorry.
That's not the kind of picture.
Yeah, swipe left.
Swipe left.
You said that your profile is the best version of you, and this is kind of, you're saying, the worst version. It's like, I don't like camping or road trips.
I call this my negative Nancy profile, and people want to see a positive and upbeat person.
Now my producer made me create my own profile. Julie picked out my pics.
I love this photo because it is the full body shot photo. It shows that you care about being in shape and that you're not afraid to show all of you.
What am I looking for? So I think probably what everybody's looking for: kind, fun, funny, smart person.
It absolutely works, and it will show you at your best.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Whether a breakup makes the headlines or not, it's never easy to watch an ex move on with someone else. So bringing in dating expert Julie Spira is back. She's going to give you 5 tips to help you move on when your ex already has. Okay, what's the number 1 tip you have for us?
The first tip is do what I call a digital detox. Don't become a digital stalker. Block them on Facebook, unfriend them on Facebook, take down some photos if you need to. You can always become friends again, once the dust has settled and you both have moved on.
What do you need to know if you're ready to take the plunge? Matches online dating expert Julie Spira here with some help for us.
We've got a Valentine's Day survival guide from online dating expert Julie Spira. Welcome back.
Thank
it's great
you.
to see
Thank you both for having me.
How do you land a date for Valentine's Day?
Write a few sentence bio and just say, I'm in the mood for love, and Valentine's Day would be great to have a date.
We have the right person to chat about this with. Online dating expert Julie Spira, a delight to have you here. What did you make, first of all, just from a business standpoint of the announcement?
Well, while it seemed like an earthquake to many of the people in the dating industry, I wasn't shocked at all.
I know you'll be watching it, and you'll be available to comment on it. Good to see you, Julie.
Thank you very much for having me.
And wearing her signature red, of course.
Oh my gosh. No way.
That's my side, and it's a very sexy. I use like 75 filters to make me look I'm unbelievable.
I mean, I would wonder like how many piercings you have and if there's an axe in your back pocket.
We're in LA right now. We're headed towards the beach to meet Julie Spira. She's a cyber dating expert, and she runs something called Mobile Dating Boot Camp, where she basically beats people's dating profiles into shape.
They're going to be swiping right, swiping right. Here's a girl calling herself a slut. Yeah, I'm gonna get lucky tonight.
Right.
Welcome to another edition of Confidently Speaking with DOC. I am your host, David Doc Shirey, author of the book Rare Confidence, Strategies and Inspiration to Strengthen Your Belief that you can achieve anything. Episode number 17 on tap tonight, and we have got America's preeminent cyber dating expert in the house. And I know that I got a lot of people out there that this may interest greatly. Before we get to tonight's guest, as always, this is meant to be a participatory program. So please comment, ask questions. I will do my darndest to get as many of those on the air as possible. And if you could share the video, that will allow the show's reach to keep getting huge and to keep attracting incredible guests, national guests like we have tonight. Let's meet tonight's guest.
Julie Spira is America's top online dating expert and digital matchmaker. She's an award-winning dating coach, an internationally known best-selling author, and she's the go-to in the media for mobile dating advice and is a political dating and internet safety expert. She has helped clients from New York to San Francisco, from London to Sydney, and was named the best dating coach of the year by iDate Awards. Cosmopolitan called her truly the pioneer of online dating. Women's World says she's one of America's ultimate experts. Your Tango said one of the top 10 columnists to follow on Twitter, and the league said one of the best dating feeds on Instagram. She is a dating expert for Match.com and has also appeared as the dating coach in the Vice documentary Mobile Love Industries, and was the online dating and expert coach in the award-winning feature film The Lonely Italian. The accolades for Julie goes on and on and on. She is the spokesperson for Clorox's What the Flu campaign. She's a dating and relationship expert for Bloomingdale's Meet Your Beauty Match. I am pleased to welcome Julie Spira to the program.
Hello. Hi, Doc. What an introduction. Oh, boy, I better sort of buckle up and make sure I can live up to that.
Well, I have no doubt that you will, Julie. I could have gone on and on about the accolades, but it would have taken up the whole show. So I figured, let's get to the meat and potatoes here, Julie. And you know, this is such a topical subject. And, you know, I'm an old married man. I've been married 22 years. So the online dating world, it's really a foreign concept to me. And when I put these shows together, when I prepare for these shows, I really try to immerse myself into that world for a couple days so that I can have a knowledgeable discussion with the guests. And wow, what I've learned over the last few days, it made me just dangerous enough that I'm going to ask you some questions that I think is going to interest our viewers out there. So I just want to thank you for coming on board, and I really, really appreciate it.
Well, my pleasure. This is going to be a lot of fun, and I particularly love the questions. So when you get into the Q&A, I just can't wait to answer some of these questions, as long as they're sort of G-rated.
All right. Well, yeah, I can't assure that they'll be G-rated. They may be PG plus.
Okay.
All right. Well, let's get right into it, Joel. You know, one thing that I learned over the last few days is that over half of online daters are using their apps more and more during the various stages of this lockdown, the quarantine, whatever it is that we're in right now. What has the virus done to change the online dating game, Julie?
I think there's been a dramatic change in just the dating industry and the way people feel about the types of relationships they're looking for. For example, I created a site called datingtheageofcovid19.com, and I asked questions such as, how has the coronavirus affected your dating life? And you could choose, I'm looking for a long-term relationship more than ever. I can't wait to hook up like I did before. I put dating on hold. Those are some of the options. And it turned out there's about between 83 and 88% of singles who have answered this poll. It's an ongoing poll. You can take it now. Have said that they're looking for a meaningful relationship where the people interested in hooking up through dating apps or any other way, I think it's shrunk down from 5% to 3%. So we're looking at people connecting and feeling in a type of time of crisis that they really care about the quality of the relationships. And most importantly, you know, a romantic relationship is really at the top of the list.
So, Julia, I know we have a lot of people out there that are really just starting to think about, hey, maybe it's time for me to jump into this online dating pond. What would be the best way for a beginner to just dip their toes in to get a taste of it?
Well, the most important thing is that you make an attempt to do so. And I think, you know, everybody has a bad hair day now because of the pandemic. So you don't have to have the most perfect photos taken by a professional photographer. I'd say that you need to create a profile and you need to find the best versions of photos of you that you've posted on Facebook and Instagram. And you need to select at least 5 photos, use up all of the digital real estate, and try one dating app just to dip a toe in and make sure that you don't leave your profile kind of naked with, 3 words.
Right.
Write on a dating app, write 5 sentences and ask a question.
Well, those are both subjects we're going to dig into here in a minute. But when you talk about apps, which ones do you think are the best ones for a new online dating person to use? And are there any that you suggest maybe they should avoid?
I love them all. Now, here's the thing. Dating apps, they all have different features, but the average person who's dating online is using about 3 different dating apps. So if you go on Match, you might find the same person on OkCupid and on Bumble. And don't be surprised. It doesn't mean that they're a player. It means they're casting a wide net. So there is no such thing as a best dating app for everyone, because some people really are just looking for companionship and a pen pal. And there are other people that really do want to find someone to actually settle down with, move in with, get married, have a partnership with. So if we're looking at people in their 20s and people in their 70s using dating apps, I probably won't recommend the same app for those 2 people.
So you wouldn't recommend, let's say, Tinder for 70-year-olds?
I know some 70-year-olds that are on Tinder, but I just guess at this point that there's less hooking up going on Tinder and more conversations.
So for a newbie to this, what are the biggest mistakes that people that are just getting started with online dating typically make, and how can they avoid those mistakes, Julie?
Oh, I call them the perils of cyber dating, which is what I wrote about in my book. Some of the mistakes, that people really have, I think, are: one is not posting a photo. I mean, if you're not posting a photo, either you're married or you're hiding something, or you probably look like a gorilla. So you need to post a photo, and that's one of the biggest mistakes. Is some people just put up a profile and they're really lazy about it. And if you expect to get a good result, don't be so lazy. The other thing is manage your expectations. Nobody has the digital magic wand. I may have a better magic wand than someone else because I've been doing this for 25 years. So I can help you with the process, but I can't guarantee that Mr. or Ms. Right is going to appear in your inbox in the next 3 hours. That may happen. That may be 3 months, but you will learn more about yourself. The more you date, the more conversations you have, you'll learn quite quickly, who's worth swiping left on, which means, into the trash bin, and who's worth having a conversation with.
So listen, even I know that the profile pic probably is the most important thing right off the bat. And as I was preparing for tonight's show, I came across some that I thought were hysterical and some that weren't so great. I want to show the viewers a couple of those.
Those were hysterical, and we do need to laugh, especially now. But here, when you talk about things that you should not do, axe those shirtless selfies, and no photos with a fish. I don't care what size the fish is and who caught it. No fish photos.
It was a big fish. So right along those lines, Julie, what are some best practices for both genders? So for men and for women. I have some friends out there that tried some online dating, and I remember, a great friend of mine, a guy, I'm not going to name him, embarrass him. He's one of the best people you'll ever meet, but he had that typical jeans and white button down on a rock picture in the park. And it just, so what do you think are the best practices for both men and women in terms of their pictures?
You are only as good as your worst photo. So show your photos to a friend and say, okay, here are the 5 or 6 photos that I'm going to post on my profile. Which ones do you think are the best? your primary photo needs to be kind of like this one. It needs to be a headshot. You need to be smiling. You need to look happy, and you need to look like you. So you can't be too filtered. and the most important thing is again, if you look the same in 3 or 4 photos, and then there's a 5th photo where you look 10 years older, somebody's going to focus on that 5th photo and they're going to take a pass.
Julie, we have a question from one of our viewers. Brian Bennett would like to know, what is an appropriate age range for a guy who's 61 years old to look for in a woman?
Hi, Brian. Thanks for your question. Everybody has a different sort of age range when it comes to dating. Men typically like to date younger. I tell people to sort of use like a 10-year window. So if you're 61, most people I know don't like to date people their own age. I disagree, because there are some really fabulous age-appropriate women out there. So I would say maybe 50 to 65. And I give that 15-year window because if you went to a party and you met somebody and you clicked and you were really having a great conversation, you would not interrupt her and say, oh, by the way, how old are you? You just know that you had chemistry. So age is really a very difficult thing for women. And the reason that women lie about their age on dating profiles is because, when they're about to have a big birthday, such as, let's say, they're turning 60, they're afraid that they might not fit into your search. And that's why you might see a lot of profiles that have a 9 number at the end of them.
Now, even I know, Julie, the second most important thing on a profile has got to be your description of yourself, I would imagine. So, because I'm a guy I've been in sales most of my adult life. I've been in advertising a lot. And let's face it, if you're putting yourself out there on a dating app, your description is kind of your marketing effort, right? There's the picture of the product, which is you, and then there's the way you describe the product, and that's really marketing. So what makes a good profile description?
There are 2 different types of profiles. And one is the desktop, because you're seeing more and more people now that they're working from home using their desktop computers instead of just using the mobile apps. So you want to have it optimized, and if you're on a desktop computer, it shouldn't be more than 125 words. If you're on your mobile phone, which most of you are, mine's got all the hearts on it, then you need to write something about yourself that would probably be about 5 sentences long. Try not to use the word I all the time. But if you happen to love pistachio ice cream, you can mention that you happen to love pistachio ice cream and ask them what their favorite flavor is as well. I put in a profile, bonus points if you get Purell, and Purell was delivered to the door.
All right. So tell me this, when you actually make connections with people, like logistically, and I'm asking this because I really have no idea. All I know is swipe right. I mean, that's literally all I know. So is it as simple as swiping right? Like, how do people actually decide, okay, I want to start a conversation with you, let's do that?
Well, if you swipe right on certain apps and other people swipe right and you have a mutual match, what you need to do is, as you know from being in sales, you've got to strike while the iron is hot. Matches can fade out really quickly, especially when people have hours and hours and hours to chat on their mobile phones from home. So if you find someone and you connect with them and you see that it's a match, don't play hard to get. I always say the squeaky wheel gets the digital love deal. But if you decide to wait until tomorrow, they may change their status to in a relationship and pull their profile down because they had an amazing 1-hour phone call after having, a half hour filled with chats with someone and maybe a video chat. And they may say, hey, I just met someone I like and I'm going to put all my eggs in her basket. And then, you lost out on meeting somebody great.
So that leads me right into my next question, Joel. I've always believed that, and I talk about this when I give speeches, that people are attracted to authenticity. I think they're also attracted to confidence, but that's another subject altogether. But authenticity is something that people, when I give a speech, and I learned this very early on, that people in the audience aren't looking for me to be perfect. They're looking for me to be authentic. It's okay if I screw up because they're rooting for me up there. And I think in the dating world, I would imagine it's the same exact way. So my question to you is, because I know there's probably a lot of people that really are nervous about how to go about starting a new relationship, and there's probably some people that overshare and they do that way too early in a fledgling relationship. But once a connection is actually made, what's the best course of action early on? Be flirtatious, mysterious, serious? You tell me, Julie.
Be fun. Again, authenticity is key, but everybody wants to be with a happy person, and they don't want to be with somebody with a lot of heavy drama. And we all have drama and we all have bad days, and we need to save that for a little further down in the relationship. So for instance, if somebody just got out of a relationship or they had an enormous drama with their ex-partner or spouse and they dump it on you in the first phone call, you're not going to want to go out with them. So I tell people, like, you need to bring the happiest version of you. You want to be the person that you would date if you were out there. And therefore, leave the drama at home, leave the novel at home, be upbeat, be fun. And it's okay to say, I need a little help with something. What's your opinion? You need to be vulnerable in order to fall in love. You don't have to be perfect. Just don't be a Debbie or Donnie Downer.
Right. I wrote about Debbie Downers in my book, and I could not agree with you more. But so basically, you're telling me that Cyndi Lauper was right. Girls just want to have fun, right?
I think everybody wants to have fun right now, and we're so limited in the ways that we're able to meet people. Some people are going on socially distanced dates and hikes, wearing masks. Most people are going on video chats, and that's sort of become the new normal. So where you might be chatting and then maybe you'll hop on the phone. And if you pass the phone test, you decide to, put your makeup on, get out of your sweats, dress from the waist up, don't stand up, and go on a video chat, because that's an opportunity for somebody to see your personality, to see your smile, and also to make sure that you're not being catfished.
All right. So before we get into the portion of actually meeting someone in person, I want to talk for a minute about red flags. And I know that, some of these are obvious, like you mentioned before, if they don't know the picture, or if, they can call you, but you can't call them. And if they're pushing to meet you in person right away, or they keep rescheduling and it never actually happens, or they tell you that they love you early on. And I know that online dating safety is a huge issue. And you appeared on WABC TV, I think right there in LA, Julie, and I want to show that clip of you talking about this very subject.
You meet someone online you haven't met yet, have a FaceTime chat or use Skype, or at least get on the phone, hop on the phone. They need to pass the bot test if they're not a bot, and they need to pass the phone test. If you have phone chemistry, then go ahead and schedule a date.
And so many people I know, I have a lot of friends who date online, they're like, the person didn't look anything like their picture, their profile picture. So
Ouch.
maybe the FaceTime would actually help that too.
Yeah, that's
maybe
true.
if you have chemistry, you might feel it on the
Exactly. So get a pre-date and make sure they pass the test.
Okay.
All right, and we're going through these.
Yep, let's
so
go through
we
these.
see
Friends in common.
Yeah.
One of the things I do as a dating coach is I sit with my clients. I'm like, okay, let's hop over to Facebook and see if you have mutual friends in common, and let's go and see if you have connections on LinkedIn in common. And then what we do is, we check them out, we vet them with their friends to get the digital thumbs up or the digital thumbs down.
Oh, okay. So you should kind of do the search on them pretty quickly.
Exactly.
And let's talk about the warnings of out of the country or military.
This is probably the only one that is the biggest red flag on my list, and that is if you receive an email from someone on a dating site and they live in another country, or they're in the military, often it's a red flag that they could be a scammer looking to actually get you to open your wallet. In order to prevent that, you need to, again, have these Skype calls like I talked about. But then again, if anyone tells you that they had a medical emergency or a sob story, there's always a sob story, like the dog does more than eats the paper. Don't open your wallet and just report them to the dating site.
You have a couple ones that obviously speak for themselves. If they say, I love you too soon, red flag. And meet in a public place, it's always more safe to do that, of course. So let's talk about don't get in anyone's car.
It's interesting. I mean, chivalry is alive and well. And if somebody says they want to pick you up at your house, just say, That's really, really so chivalrous of you. I would love to do that on the second or third date, but I feel more comfortable meeting you in person and bringing my own car.
All right, well, so we have a few more questions, but we want to at least get to this one last one. Don't sext before every meeting. Again, my friends, I watch them all the time. They don't even know the person, but they've suddenly developed, they start doing all that. What do you say to the sexting before they meet?
It's unbelievable. There was a report that just came out for Valentine's Day that showed that 48% of singles were having sex before they were ever meeting.
Oh, isn't that ridiculous?
So what happens on the first date? And
Yeah.
then you, right?
What about old-fashioned?
Yeah.
All right.
So
Well,
against that.
you have so many good tips.
I mean, talk about old-fashioned. Like I said, I've been married 22 years. This whole sexting thing to me is like, why would a guy ever send a picture of his private parts to a woman? Like, what woman wants to receive that picture?
And we don't even know it's his.
Yeah, right. It's crazy.
No, I'm not a fan of that as well. And I think the safety is a really, really important thing. Women need to feel safe. So men actually need to kind of make the women feel safe. So say who you are, be open and honest about where you work. You don't have to tell your entire life story, but you certainly need to help someone feel like you're not pushing the relationship too fast. These I love yous before you ever met. You're in love with love and you have a digital pen pal. And some people say, I've never felt this way about anyone before. Really? Take time.
Now, Julie, we live in probably the most divisive, partisan times in our lifetimes. I mean, just craziness. And I know you've written about this. So tell us, Julie, what have you learned about dating in the age of Trump?
Dating in the age of Trump is a very difficult subject to write about and to talk about because our country is so divided. I think now our political divide has actually gotten larger because it's a question of would you date someone who won't wear a mask? And so a lot of what's going on right now during the pandemic is political. It's about people's opinions on marching. It's about people's opinions on racism. It's about people's opinions on Black Lives Matter. It goes on and on and on from when I first started researching about would couples be willing to date across party lines. And now it's about values. You need to be in sync with someone and have similar values, not be a carbon copy of each other. And often that really comes down to how you will vote on a particular topic or for a presidential candidate.
Now, I imagine that when you're talking about online dating early on in the process, some of the rules that maybe apply at your workplace should apply to online dating, such as you probably shouldn't talk politics. You probably shouldn't talk religion. You probably shouldn't talk about your crazy ex-girlfriend. What kind of rules would you tell people things to avoid early on, Julie?
Well, crazy exes, any exes, nobody wants to hear about your ex, especially on a first date. However, politics right now, we are in an election year. And if you feel really strongly about a particular candidate and you're doing the phone bangs and you want to be with somebody that you're aligned with politically, you need to ask that question early on. And it could be as simple as, who do you plan on voting for president? And maybe you just want to have a lively debate and ask why. If their decision is different than yours, just say, well, why do you feel that way? Is there a particular agenda item that you feel strongly, or are you just a party person? And be able to be willing to talk to someone that has differing beliefs, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be a good match unless you set a timer and decide that you have a politics-free zone on your date.
All right, so let's say it's time now to really get to know somebody. And, in my limited knowledge of all this, I imagine that there are people that kind of fall in love with somebody's profile, the picture, the description. They don't really fall in love with the person, but they fall in love with the profile. How often does that happen, Julie? And is that a real thing?
Well, as you say, when being in sales and marketing and putting together the most fabulous profile with the best photos, the best copy, with everything, and you're checking off all of the boxes on my list, you're going to have an amazing profile. And hopefully you will live up to that profile when you meet the person in person. I would have to say some of the best dates are the dates when somebody looks in your eyes and says, wow, you look better than your profile photos.
What are some of the best ideas for a first date? Is it just coffee, or are there some other cool, fun, outside the box things that you can share with our audience?
First dates have really been redefined, and hopefully people will go on more in-person first dates as the months and years go on. But for right now, first dates belong at home, and that means in your separate homes. And first dates need to be virtual, and it could be really something fun where you both go like to the museums. I love these whole museum hopping where you can stream and you can go visit the Louvre, and you can go to the Guggenheim in New York, and you can go to a museum as if you were on a date with someone, and you can talk about how you feel about a particular piece of art. I find that to be really exciting. Now, if you love music and you feel really, really disappointed that you missed out on Coachella, there are so many concerts that are on, that are living room concerts that you can watch streaming. There are charity concerts, or you can watch a documentary or a film, or, as I said, or watch your favorite artist in concert. The old Grateful Dead concerts are even very popular right now. But whatever you do something together. And a first date, it should be quite brief, no more than 20 minutes.
From what I have gathered, Julie, it seems to me that a lot of people have experienced what I'm about to show you after going on a first date from somebody they've met online.
Vanessa broke up with her ex around 6 months ago, and only now, after going through a lot of emotional turmoil, did she feel ready to dip her toes into the water and start dating again. Her friends were all dating men they'd met online, and Vanessa thought the internet would be a good place to start. That was how she met Carl. After being online for only a couple of days, Vanessa saw Carl's profile and was instantly impressed. Carl looked confident and sophisticated, and when they got around to chatting online, Vanessa found him easy to talk to. When Vanessa met Carl in person, however, she was instantly disappointed. Where was the confident man she had met online? In the flesh, Carl was neither funny nor charming. He was clearly out of shape, something his profile picture did well to conceal, and his elegant turn of phrase had been replaced by the rambling stutter of a man who was insecure around women. Even though Vanessa was attracted to Carl online, her impression of him now was nothing short of disappointing. It doesn't matter how attractive your online profile is and how well you communicate. If a woman isn't attracted to you in person, there's nothing you can do to redeem the situation. One of the great perils of online dating is the speed with which a man and woman can become intimate in such a short space of time. Although this intimacy is often an illusion, as the woman soon discovers that the online version of the man is nothing like the real version. If you're confident and attractive, there's still another problem that must be overcome. When you become intimate with a woman online without first meeting her in person, you unconsciously derail the seduction process. Men often lament how they talked to a girl for hours, or how they became so close online they both agreed not to meet and date other people. Unfortunately, theirs was a relationship built on nothing more than hope and illusion. It's only when you sit down face to face that the real seduction begins.
I mean, I'm getting soft in my old age because I actually felt bad for the cartoon guy when the narrator said he clearly was out of shape. I mean, come on, give the poor guy a break. So my question to you, Julie, is what can someone do to kind of guard against that happening to them?
Well, I mean, what I loved about that video is the importance about what you write about, which is confidence. And confidence is such an aphrodisiac. It's the sexiest thing for both a woman and a man. And nobody wants to be with somebody who is insecure. And I think the way that you can prevent these, you can't prevent someone's personality. If somebody is shy, they could come across as very amiable online because they're hiding behind a keyboard. But this is why I truly believe that virtual dating and video dating allows you to have a connection and a communication with someone. And if Carl really was that sort of shy or, meek, it would have come out before they had a chance to meet in the flesh.
All right. Now let's talk about actual first date. And I want to talk about two separate scenarios. So the first scenario we're going to bring up here is, let's say you go out, you're all excited, and early on, it's not going well for a variety of reasons. They look different than you thought. They're uninteresting or obnoxious. They talk about themselves the whole time. They have an annoying laugh. Their breath smells, whatever. They're on their phone the whole time. What do you do now? Is it okay to jet, as the kids say, to get up and end it abruptly? How do you handle that?
I don't say end it abruptly. I think you need to be gracious. You just need to have a shorter date than originally planned. And if your 1 hour dinner date turns out to be a 20-minute drink date at the end of your first drink, thank the person for their time and be honest and just say, I don't think we have enough in common for a romantic relationship, but I appreciate the time that you took to get to know each other. And it was great meeting you. And leave, with a smile, because you do not know if that person has a really fabulous friend they could introduce you to. Right. So you don't want to burn a bridge, or God forbid, next thing you know, you're applying for a job and that person's the hiring manager. So you hate to be the person who spilled a drink in their face and yelled at them because they didn't look like their photo.
The irony of that is that my gut tells me that the people who lack confidence are the ones that can't end a bad date early, and they will stay there for 2 hours when they wanted to leave after 7 minutes, probably. All right, let's look at the flip side of that now. It's going great. I mean, it's lasting longer than you thought. There was great conversations. You guys are cracking each other up. There was a little touching, no nervousness. Now what? Is it appropriate in 2020 to get back to their place on the first date?
No. First date sex still happens. I would suggest that if you have that kind of chemistry, you'll have the same chemistry with that person the following day, even if you slept in different homes. The best thing you could do is end the date and say, I can't wait to see you again, and take out your phones, open up your calendars, and schedule something for the next day. But make sure you schedule something else and you let them know that you're having so much fun. Men will wait as long as a woman is ready until a woman is ready to have sex. It doesn't mean you're going to blow it if you don't go home with them. There's sort of, the best things in life are worth waiting for. Right. So, take your time.
So that brings me to my next question, because as I was researching the program, I came across a survey from an outfit called Illicit Encounters. Maybe that tells you all you need to know about the survey, but they surveyed 2,000 single people, and they found out that 54% of those 2,000 single people would sleep with a new partner on the first date, while only 24% of them believe they should wait until the third date before getting busy. So, Julie, my question to you does having sex on the first date help or hinder the possibility of a second date? And what other issues does the world's favorite indoor activity bring up for new daters that maybe they should think about before they jump right into that?
Well, there are no rules other than make sure you have safe sex whenever you have sex. That's important. And so you really need to make sure that the person is safe. And I believe in waiting. That's my preference. I know people who say, hey, I feel it, I want to have it now. I don't think that the survey results are wrong, because if I ask a guy, how long will you wait to have sex? If the woman wants to have sex on the first night, he'd be game. And if she wanted to wait till the third date or the 10th date and he really liked her, he'd wait. So people don't say no to first date sex if it's offered.
That's kind of like the old thing where the man says to the woman, when you have one of those, you can get one of these whenever you want. Kind of. All right. That may have gone over some people's heads there. All right, Julie, we are now entering the portion of the program that I call Quarantine Quick Takes. And what we're going to do here is I am going to ask you some incredibly complex questions, and I'm looking for you to give me some short and sweet answers, not to put you on the spot or anything like that. All right? So I guess the first question I have for you is there a proper etiquette for when you're stalking somebody's social media profile, which I'm sure everybody does?
There is no etiquette for stalking. You're not supposed to stalk somebody's profile. Just
All
don't
right.
do it. Try and control yourself.
Fair enough. All right. So what happens when you've decided to get into this online dating world and your hopes are high and you can't wait to meet that special someone, and then nobody visits or responds to your profile? What do you do?
That is a question that I get asked all of the time. Usually people come to me and say, I tried online dating. It didn't work. Nobody wrote back to me. I think patience is important. And I think marketing, like you say, is important. And you just don't know if the very next day, a perfect match is going to reveal themselves. So new people join every single day, and new people, take their profiles down because they decide to become exclusive because they've met online. So you need to give it time and understand it's like going on a job interview. I always say this, that if you're looking for your dream job and you're out of work and you need to pay your rent or your mortgage, you don't go on 3 job interviews that were flops and say, I'm not going on a 4th interview.
Right.
So you go on a 4th date and you keep writing to people, and maybe you write 10 messages and you get 1 response. But if it's 1 really good response, I don't care about the other 9.
Right. Now, you brought up patience. And Julie, anybody who knows me knows that when the man upstairs was giving out patience, I missed that day. I am the least patient man in America. Let me tell you something. I have no patience whatsoever. And I got to thinking, so let's say you were in this online date, you just kind of got started and you're having some good dialogue back and forth with somebody, but then there's a lull and they don't respond to you. What's the best strategy instead of just sending them 600 texts and each one getting more and more angry?
I call this ODAD, online dating anxiety disorder. It's actually very real. You do not know if someone suddenly gets a phone call and they have to hop on a Zoom call for work. You don't know if suddenly they have to go out and do an errand and they ran to the grocery store. You can't assume just because you're attached to your phone that that person is staring at your message. But you can assume that they will see it within an hour or certainly within 4 hours, because people are attached to their phones. So you cannot look at your self-esteem and your value based upon the response time of a text message. Just don't do it.
Now, these websites, all these dating apps, obviously they are businesses. And a lot of them, I would imagine, have free, come on, test the waters, come on in. But at the end of the day, they're going to try to make money some way, somehow, some shape or form. So I guess the question is, how do you know what the right site to pay money for? Is it a good idea? If they try to lock you in, how much should you pay? I have no idea what any of these things cost.
Well, some sites actually are membership sites. They're all free to join. It's just not all of them are free to send and receive messages. So you should always try something for a short period of time. And if it's working for you, then join on a longer membership because you get a better price. But even the dating apps like Tinder and Bumble and Hinge, they all have premium features. Maybe you'll be in the spotlight and your profile will be featured more frequently than someone else's. Maybe you have a chance to see who's viewed you, who you haven't had a chance to view yet. There are so many bells and whistles. So if it's only $3.99, try it for 1 hour and see if you get any results.
So if I'm not mistaken, Tinder is the hookup app, right?
Tinder was known when it was initially launched as a hookup app. It had that reputation because it started in the college campuses, and most of the people in their 20s, and well, they were not looking for anything serious. But as time went on, more and more people got curious about Tinder. Even my mother asked about Tinder. My mother's happily married, by the way. And so as a result, there are people that are on Tinder that are falling in love, that are getting married, that are having Tinder babies. They have really branched out into being a mainstream dating app.
Because I was going to say, it sounded to me like the earlier version of Tinder where people would pay Tinder to hook up. It sounded like they were like an online pimp, kind of.
No. You control your own destiny on whether you want to go on a date or not. And of course, you control the decision on whether you want to have sex or not. You can say no if you're not ready.
No doubt about it. All right. So are there weird psychological effects of online dating? I have some friends, both male and female, that have kind of entered into this world, and it really takes them on this emotional journey up and down that drives them nuts.
It is a romantic journey, and there are lots of us in cyberspace on these journeys. And know that if you do meet somebody wonderful and it doesn't work out, you need to hop back on that digital saddle and put your profile back up. It's the easiest and quickest way to meet somebody that you wouldn't meet under normal circumstances. And if your friends aren't fixing you up, then you need to go online.
Now, Julie, when I was researching you, I know you're not just a cyber dating expert. You're a dating expert. So do you have any tips for our audience on how to meet people offline in real life? Maybe not in the age of COVID, but once we get past this, how do you meet people out in real life?
Some of the best ways to meet people are to join organizations that are of interest to you. If you like to hike, join the Sierra Club. Smile every morning when you go to Starbucks or you go to the grocery store. You can smile and wink with somebody on the grocery line. There's a reason they hold it a meat market because people were meeting at the grocery stores before the days of online dating and online personal ads. And so just be open to it. And I think that you need to have an online and an offline strategy at the same time. And if you write this amazing profile and put up your photos, that doesn't mean that you're only going to meet somebody online. It means that you are changing your mindset, that you're ready to receive love. And that might mean while you're taking a walk, and again, while you're out picking up a coffee or a tea.
Now, I'm old school, so you probably know what my answer would be, but Pam Cooper Shepard wants to know about costs. Should you split it on the first date?
The oldest question in the book, and the answer still remains the same. It's a gentleman pays for the first date if you're in a heterosexual relationship or whoever asks the other person out. And if you offer and you lean in to split the check, you're sending the message that you're going Dutch treat because they've been friend zoned. So even though you might think it's a polite thing to do, it sends the friend zone message. So for the first date, if a gentleman asks a woman out, let him pick up the tab. Just don't pick the fanciest place in town. And there are other ways that you can reciprocate down the line. Maybe you have tickets to a concert or a sporting event when they're back on the calendar.
All right, Julie, as we begin to wind it down here, if you could give the audience your best advice to go out there and find the love of their life online, what would it be?
My best advice is to love yourself first. And maybe you'll hear that a lot, but in order to build up the confidence, I tell singles to look in the mirror and basically say, I am the prize, I am the prize, I am the prize, until you get to the point that you actually believe it, because then you're going to go out there with a lot of confidence and you're going to realize that someone will be lucky to have the opportunity to meet you.
That's awesome. You have been a tremendous guest, and I really have had a lot of fun with you here. How can our viewers find a copy of your book, The Perils of Cyber Dating, and how can they just find you genuinely online? Because I've been to your website. You have a bunch of websites. You're all over social media and just a plethora of information.
Well, my primary site is cyberdatingexpert.com. And if you scroll down, you'll see a picture of the perils of cyber dating, and you can click on that and you can buy the book on Amazon or Barnes & Noble. There's also, I think, a website for perilsofcyberdating.com. But the best place to find me is cyberdatingexpert.com, and on social media at Julie Spira, the handle you see in the photo, on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, just about everywhere.
Ladies and gentlemen, the best in the business, Julie Spira. Julie, thank you so much. I am going to put you into the virtual green room so we can chat when the show's over. So I'm going to bring you out of the stream here for a minute, but don't go anywhere, okay?
Got it.
Okay. All right, boy, she was awesome. She was awesome. If I was a single guy, I certainly got a lot of information as to what the next step would be there. All right, real quick, I want to plug what we got going on next week here. So next Tuesday night, I think we got the technical issues with Mr. B. Howard Bullard figured out. Howard Bullard has been an educator for over 40 years, in the public school system. He spent most of that time in the Pittsburgh public schools, but he has done it all, from being a principal to being a coach, an athletic director, an assistant superintendent. And we're going to dig into the state of education in America with Mr. B next Tuesday night. And then next Thursday night, man, I may look back on this and say, what the hell was I thinking? But next Thursday night, we're going to try something new. It's going to be my first solo show, Ask Doc Anything. Now, I'm going to ask you to keep it respectful. Let's not make it too personal, but I'm really looking for you to ask me what you think my opinion is on something. And hey, listen, I can almost take either side of a subject. So if you want to take one side and tell me to take the other and ask me my opinion on it, do that. You could send me private messages. I'll post it up on Facebook in a few days. You can start sending me messages. And the night of the show, you can always post up messages. And I'm actually going to post the link that night to bring a few viewers onto the show via the magic of video to go ahead and ask me some questions. So that should be a lot of fun. And who knows, maybe the FCC will shut me down after that. We'll see. I don't know. I don't even know if the FCC even regulates this sort of thing. So, but hey, tonight was a lot of fun. It really was. Again, if you could share the video, that will help me to be able to reach a wider audience and continue to get amazing national guests like the guest that we had tonight. Thanks so much for watching. Peace.